Hello everyone, I wanted to touch base with you as we wrap up week 3 and move on to week 4. In week 3 we're discussing international projects. Now I've been involved in a lot of international projects, and I can say the key word for project managers managing globally is complexity. You have language differences, cultural differences, and I think what happens with the project manager is you will face daily things you didn't expect. People react to things differently than you would anticipate. For example, you could be in a negotiation meeting and suddenly the other party is not talking, and maybe a minute goes by and you can't figure out what's going on. But in their culture, that is totally acceptable behavior. So you have to do your homework and prepare just like you would for other aspects of the project. But let's not neglect culture, language, and remember, when you're interacting with someone from another culture, you are interacting with the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot of depth there that you may not even realize is going on below the surface. So this also suggests in international projects you should have people on your project that are natives to that area to help you navigate through the difficult issues and complex issues that you will face. We're also talking a lot about planning and estimating. We're moving from planning and into estimation. One thing I could caution you as we move into week 4 about estimates is that estimates are always wrong. And you think, well, why estimate? Well, here's the problem. Management wants to know as soon as possible how much something is going to cost and how long it's going to take to do. Now, if you spend very little time in doing this, you're going to be wrong, considerably wrong. But if you take a lot of time to do it and put resources into analyzing every piece of work, analyzing the cost, the time, you get more and more accurate estimates, but you use more and more cost and more time to get it. So the irony is that early estimates are wrong, but that's what management wants. Late estimates are right, or closer to the truth, but they're often too late to take action. So there's a balance there. So really the earliest estimates are what are known as ROM estimates, rough order of magnitude. And you say, if they're so inaccurate, why do it? Well, management wants to know, what am I getting into? Is this a $10,000 project, a $100,000 project, a $1 million project, a $10 million project, a $100 million project? These are orders of magnitude. So at least you can get that accurate to understand the total scale of what you're dealing with. Later, as you get closer to the project and you've done more of your homework, crunching numbers and feasibility, having your team members involved in the estimate, your estimates get more accurate. But you'll also encounter a difference in philosophy between top-down and bottom-up estimating. Typically, top management uses top-down estimating, which really is an estimate that is more reflection of what management would like the project to cost versus what it actually costs. Here's our budget, and this budget comes from business models, business targets, how much cash we have in the bank, how much we can afford to do. Whereas bottom-up estimates typically come from your team, and you have team members looking at each piece of work and being conservative about how much time it's going to take, how much it's going to cost. So typically your team will say it's going to cost this much, whereas management says it should cost that much. So often you have a top-down estimate that's small and a bottom-up that's very large, and then there's negotiation back and forth and maybe sometimes a little arguing back and forth, and hopefully in many cases you'll meet in the middle. So that's a quick overview. We're moving out of international projects and planning for the project, and we're moving into estimate. Also, keep in mind, in the discussion forum I posted a little presentation about the work breakdown structure. That's a critical part of elaborating the scope of your project, and it'd be good if you take a look at that discussion forum and look for that presentation that I posted, because the work breakdown structure is not exactly what you may think it is. If you refer to the PMI practice standard and the work breakdown structure, you'll see that the work breakdown structure is not a schedule. It doesn't have people assigned. It doesn't have cost assigned. It's a hierarchical, highly structured elaboration of what the project is going to do. And you use that as a basis to develop your list of activities and your schedule that comes slightly later. It's all about elaborating the scope, which is part of planning for your project. So as we end week 3 and move on to week 4, we're moving out of planning and international projects and more into estimating. So I'll see you in the discussion threads.